Today I'm with Tom Blank with Everest Escrow. I have the pleasure of introducing him. I've been dealing with Everest Escrow for over 8 years now, and they have absolutely the best service I've ever seen in my career in 21 years. So I want to introduce Tom, and he wants to help us explain to buyers, sellers, those that need to refinance, how escrow works today in our world today, and also the steps that we need to take to prepare for escrow, what happens during escrow, and the mistakes that a lot of buyers and sellers do during escrow. So Tom, how are you doing today? Thank you for coming on.
I'm doing great. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for having me. It's a true honor to be on here today with you. Yes, we have worked together for quite a while. I am Tom. I do work with Everest Escrow, and I appreciate you giving me a moment to talk with your clients.
So tell me a little bit about your background and what got you, and what your position is and how you got there.
So I started in escrow back in 1999. I started at a small little escrow in City of Industry, and from there I just kind of fell in love with it. Liked the whole process, liked how you can help clients get into their dream home, and I liked watching these families grow. It was really an amazing process. From that small independent escrow, I went to a larger title company, and I became a title rep. And then I did title for about 5 to 6 years, and then I got back into escrow. I had the opportunity to go and work with another escrow company and kind of open their doors. And then I was recruited by Everest. So I've been with Everest for about 6 years now. During that lengthy career, obviously I started a family. I have multiple kids now. I have 4 kids, and got my notary license, and just have been so intertwined in the real estate servicing side of it when it comes to escrow and title. So that's kind of my background. 20 years now in the business. Learned a lot of things to do right, learned a lot of things not to do, so we can help our clients and kind of get the transactions closed properly as they need to be.
And what is your phone number and your email, Tom?
Sure. My name is, again, Tom Blank, and I'm the Regional Sales Director with Everest Escrow. My direct cell is area code 951-314-6860. And my email is pretty simple. It's my first and last name, so tom.blank@everestescrow.com. And that's Everest like the mountain, so everestescrow.com. And just so you guys know, we have multiple locations through Southern California. To the left of me here on the screen, you can see that we have locations in Anaheim, Carlsbad, Corona, Rancho Cucamonga, Irvine, Laguna. We have several others, Rancho Cucamonga, as well as Huntington Beach. So I personally cover the Inland Empire. I cover Corona and Rancho Cucamonga. And then I do also cover a couple of our other offices, Laguna and Anaheim. But my main focus is always the Inland Empire. That's where I've had my roots for multiple years. I also live in Rancho Cucamonga.
You're one busy dude, that's for sure.
Kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and it amazes me because you're one of those people, kind of like, a lot of other fathers that I know, that you just take great pride in spending time with your kids, and when you're able to, just spending as much time as possible, and not just focusing just on business, but you have a great personal life as well, which I really, really appreciate.
Thank you. And I think that's why I've connected so well with a lot of my clients. A lot of my clients are, just like you, families first, always. The reason why we do work so hard is obviously for our families. And it's nice to be able to help these families also see what you see, and you kind of have the same idea, and you just work, it just meshes well together. So it's a nice compliment. Thank you.
And you guys don't just handle purchases, you guys do a lot of refinances as well, correct?
Yeah, so of course, right now we're doing more and more refinances just because of the interest rates and how low they are. But our first priority is always our purchases. Refis, they kind of come and go, but right now they're definitely very strong. So we have a lot of lender relationships, and we do a lot of purchases and a lot of refinances. You're absolutely right.
You guys have always done a fantastic job for me. Even my last escrow, I touted you guys like crazy. I didn't even get a counter offer. So that was great. So if I'm able to relay to another agent that my offer doesn't need to be countered regarding escrow because my escrow is so good, that's a great thing.
That is a wonderful thing. And that kind of makes your job easier, and it makes your clients the ability to not have to go through multiple counters or anything along those lines. It makes it a lot seamless for them. The reason why we've done what we've done and we've grown so largely is because of that customer service. We don't have a lot of stuff to offer as an escrow company, and there are a lot of competitors, but we do have the ability to offer amazing service. And that's something we've really prided ourselves on.
Now, we touched a little bit, I know we may be going fast forward on this, but it has to do with refinances as well as purchases. I want to touch a little bit on COVID-19 and what we're doing with regards to signing loan documents with the notaries and so forth. We had a little discussion regarding that earlier.
Yes, and that is a very important issue right now. We want to make sure everyone's safety is well taken care of course, the clients, but also the notaries that are out there. So what we're doing when it comes to refinances as well as purchases when it's time to sign loan docs, Everest Escrow has partnered up with a couple different signing companies. And what we do is we make sure all the notaries sign documentation that states they have not been involved or been around anyone that has COVID. Obviously, a lot of people don't know everyone they've come across, but we're trying to take the precautionary chances that we can. We also require the clients to sign those as well, and it's just asking the same thing, so we're protecting everyone on our end. And then what we do is we have multiple different options. We can still go out to their home. Our offices are open, but we're not allowing the general public to come in. So we are urging everyone to do and utilize a mobile notary service. So we send notaries out to their home. Our notaries are all covered with masks as well as gloves if the client sees fit. We also utilize Lysols. We also utilize, hand sanitizers, things like that. We are requesting that every signing hopefully can be taken place outside. Some of our notaries even bring a portable table as well as portable chairs just to make sure it's a little bit more open and we're not confined in someone's home. And of course, that's obviously, again, to protect the client as well as the notary. And then we still do our normal job. We still explain the documents, go over everything, make sure they understand their payment, their interest rate, their loan amount, and then of course how they're going to be holding title and so forth. So the service part when it comes to COVID has not changed when it comes to a notary service. It has just adapted a little bit. So before we would just go into the home and not really think twice of it. Now we're in the protective gear, and then we're requesting that we sign outside. I even know a couple of our notaries have signed on the back of cars, in parking lots at work. I mean, it's been a little creative,
That is creative.
Of the time. Yeah, most of the time they would go to like a Starbucks before. Well, now obviously most of the Starbucks are closed. Some of them have like community areas where they have tables and stuff. So we've utilized some of those depending on the location. But we also have chosen a couple different signing companies that do virtual signings. And so that would be where your client, either the borrower or the buyer, can sit at their computer or on their cell phone and actually do a virtual signing. So we're able to do that as well. We signed one this morning that was a physicist, and he has a little bit more information that we may have, and he does not want to touch any document that anyone else has not touched. So he printed everything at home. Our notary got actually did a Zoom call with him and confirmed everything, went over it all, confirmed the payment, interest rate, loan amount, and then of course the client signed everything. And from there, the client would then FedEx everything, and the notary has the video. And so there are ways around this. So if you do have a client that is elderly, that is just very concerned about the whole disease and want to protect themselves, or even have small children, that would be your way to go. If you have a client that is okay with still meeting with the protective gear, we can do the 6 feet apart. I mean, one of our notaries told us the other day they signed on the hood of a car. So they had the whole car in between them. So it's not quite 6 feet, but maybe you're like 4 or 5 feet. And so you have that distance and you're protected with your safety gear. So there are ways around it.
I'm so happy to hear that the digital technology is finally coming into play with regards to loan documents, because I think that's part of the future, right? Because a lot of times you're spending so much time just going over the documents. If they can get them in advance and go over them, it just takes that one extra day to overnight the package over to the lender, and then everybody feels safe. But that's great that everybody is coming together and finding the solutions to signing loan documents.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And with the realtors adopting, a lot of the other platforms, Sign on the X and DocuSign and a lot of these other processes, clients are used to doing that now. So it's just very seamless. I mean, I know a lot of the agents now are doing the full contract on their iPad. And so the client can sign right then and there. So when they get loan docs that same round, the same idea, it's not something new. They feel comfortable with it. So eventually I would imagine that loan docs would go fully virtual, and most of the stuff is going to be able to be done on the computer. As of right now, we're kind of at like the half and half point where we still have to have the notary actually physically see them and still stamp the documents and things like that. And that's something that we do on the back end now with the virtual signings, but it's definitely out there, and definitely will eventually graduate that way, I think.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to go over what the best things that you think that buyers and sellers need to do to prepare prior to opening escrow. Whether it's buyers or sellers, doesn't matter.
Got it. So let me kind of start with sellers. The sellers kind of have a different level of rules and regulations that they need to go over. Once they agree to open escrow and once they're entering into the escrow process, they're going to receive a welcome package from the escrow company, whether it's Everest Escrow or any other escrow company. We all kind of do the same thing when it comes to the welcome package. It's going to have a copy of the escrow instructions, which basically just reconfirms everything that the contract stated. And then it's going to have a grant deed. The grant deed does have to be notarized, and that would be the grant deed deeding the property from the current seller to the new buyer. That usually needs to be, or that does have to be signed, notarized, and then sent back to the escrow company. And then one thing that kind of actually there's two things that kind of hold up some of these sellers. The statement of information. The statement of information is to make sure there's no liens or judgments against you as an individual. And if there was, or if it does pop up under your name, that form will help them understand that you are either that person or not that person. For instance, there's a lot of John Smiths in the whole world. And if your name is John Smith, you may have some stuff that pops up. And you filling out your social, where you've lived, where you've worked, that will identify that you are not the John Smith that has that lien or whatever it may pop up. Also, another form for sellers is the 593. The 593 is simply a tax form telling us what you're doing. So you're gaining money, you're losing money, you're profiting, you're breaking even. That form helps us understand and know what we need to do when it comes to taxes. So this is a form, the 593 is a form that I would highly suggest that you go to your CPA or your tax professional, because a realtor or even escrow, we cannot explain this form at all. We can kind of guide you a little bit, but we can't tell you which box to check and which one helps you when it comes to your taxes. So that would be a very important form prior to this whole thing, prior to you accepting a contract. Kind of take a minute, step back and think, what do I need to do when it comes to this tax-wise? And your agent should be able to kind of give you that form up front. She can request that from escrow, and you guys can go talk to your tax professional when it comes to that. So that would be the most important part when it comes to sellers. Okay, and that's what holds up a lot of the transactions. Now, when it comes to buyers are a little bit different because there's a few things that can happen when it comes to a buyer, especially right now with COVID. We're having a lot of buyers and have issues when it comes to verification of employment. So we always want to confirm that you have not lost your job, your income has not changed from day one when you started this transaction. Okay, not when you got loan approval, but from when you accepted the contract. Okay, we want to make sure that nothing has changed for you. A couple other things that do happen, and I have a whole list here, so I'm just going to kind of keep glancing over. Change in marital status. So if you start a transaction and you're single and then you get married in between, not a huge issue, but you need to kind of let everyone know that that's going to be happening because it can delay the process. Okay, we just suggest that if you're in the process of getting married, explain that to your loan officer and of course your realtor, so it doesn't hold anything up down the road. Also, of course, change of jobs. That goes back to what I just kind of talked about with verification of employment. We've had quite a few people in the last year or so, and this has happened over my 20-year period, where I got a better job, I changed jobs. That's great, but that messes up everything because a lot of the loan approvals and a lot of the loans itself is conditioning based off of the job or the history and the time you've been in that position. So it kind of messes some things up, and it will again delay things. Again, switching banks or moving your money to a different financial institution. So make sure you don't do that. Now, most of the
no.
Yeah, they don't. And this is a good way for them to understand. And a lot of loan officers have kind of checklists like this as well that will kind of tell them, don't do this, don't do that. But this is something that the agents can also have as well. And we have some documents as well that we can share with some of our agents that if you guys need any, you can reach out to Jenny and she can forward me any requests, or you can call or text me and I can do the same. But yeah, if you change your financial institution, that's going to kind of delay the process again. As well as paying off any accounts unless your lender tells you. So if you have a credit card that has, say $1,000 limit, you just pay that off and your lender didn't tell you to do that, that again can mess up everything. Everything when it comes to loans, and I'm not a loan officer, you guys can check with your loan officers or your lender professionals. But basically, if you're paying off, that messes up your debt to income ratio. You may need that $1,000 in your account opposed to paying it off on the credit. Okay, and another one, This is a big one, and a lot of people do this. I was at a meeting the other day signing documents with someone, and he goes, "You like my new truck out there?" I go, "What? You bought a new truck?"
No.
Do not make any large purchases during the time you're buying a home. I know a few years back in the short sale market, we had a police officer that came in that was going to buy my neighbor's house. And he went out the weekend before he closed, furnished the whole house, got a new barbecue, beds for all the kids. And then he wasn't approved for the transaction anymore because he spent so much money. So you can lose out on your dream home by making a large purchase that wasn't approved by your lender or someone didn't know about. So no new accounts, no large purchases, no getting married during the process. Of course, changing jobs and then changing financial institutions. So as a buyer, that's what's going to hold up your process drastically.
So most of these things are lender related. Just like, when you're talking about verification of income, they're going to do it through the whole process as well, which means in the middle of the process, they're going to do a verification of employment. And then again, before they even, before the closing disclosure goes out, they do another verification of employment. And then there's a possibility of them doing it again before they actually fund the loan. So those are very important points to make. And if everybody is moving things around and not communicating, that's why us as realtors need to have that conversation day one when escrow opens. Okay, now as of today, you do nothing but focus on escrow. And once escrow closes, then go ahead and go buy your furniture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, don't do that during the process. It will delay everything drastically.
Okay, so let's talk about just the process of escrow. Let's just say from start to finish with regards to opening escrow, how long everybody has to get their deposit in, and how we have different terms for that, the EMD, and the process, the quick go-through process on that.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a very quick breakdown just because to go super in depth is going to take a long time. But I do want to start off the conversation real quick with what escrow is and who we are. We are a third neutral party. So we are not necessarily part of the transaction. We do not benefit from anything. Our client is not the realtor. It is not the listing agent. It is not the selling agent. Our client is the buyer and the seller. That is who the contract we have. That is the agreement that we have from them. Our rules and regulations are all based off of the real estate contract. So whatever states on that real estate contract is what we follow. So once you guys agree on a sales price and a term for the escrow period, anywhere from 30 to 45 days, that's typically the two scenarios that they do choose from. Now you may go a little bit further out if you'd like, but once you guys agree on that contract, that's what we follow. We draw up our escrow instructions, which basically are an exact copy of your contract, just on our letterhead, on our format. Those are then sent out to the buyer side, to the seller side. Each of those, again, review that and sign them and return them to us. From there, we are again agreeing upon that contract, stating that everything is true and correct. And they are agreeing that Everest Escrow or whatever escrow company is going to be the neutral third party, basically the one that holds the money and pays off everything. Now, once the offer is accepted, now depending on what your contract states, usually you have about 3 days to send in the EMD, the earnest money deposit. That basically is kind of your good faith deposit, telling the seller, as a buyer, telling the seller, I am agreeing to buy your house and I'm agreeing to put in, I'm going to use example, $3,000 into escrow, confirming that I will follow all the rules and guidelines to buy that house. Okay, then from there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny, 17 days, you usually have the ability to remove loan contingency. Is that correct?
That's for the inspection contingency. The loans, we're kind of doing a little bit of an extension right now with COVID. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So normally on the loan portion, what would you normally do if we weren't in this pandemic?
Around 21 days.
21 days. Perfect. And so you guys it would start at open of escrow, that whatever day we open, you would have 21 days to remove your loan contingency. And then of course, with this pandemic, they are pushing it out a little bit. But once you remove the loan contingency, at that point, the lender should be working on everything that we need to have. And escrow has already ordered the prelim. A prelim is with whatever title company you guys work with, and that would make sure there's no liens or judgments on the property. And if anything were to pop up during that period, the 21-day period, is when we're working with the title company and of course the buyer or the seller as well, to remove any of those liens or judgments that may pop up. And you'll be amazed with some of the stuff that does pop up. There's, you know, past loans that have been paid off that are just for some reason still showing. There may be child support liens, there may be tax liens, just kind of weird and strange things that do pop up
Judgments
often.
are a really weird one, right?
They are, yeah. But most of the time, majority of the stuff can be, you know, fixed or rectified. Some of this stuff does take a lot longer, though. If maybe there is a child support lien, it may take a month or two to get a judgment from, you know, the government stating that that is paid off, or, you know, it was removed, or whatever it may be. So just make sure that during that time, if there is anything as a seller, if there's anything requested from you by escrow or even your realtor regarding a lien or judgment, you need to get that information back to them as soon as possible. Because again, that could be something on your end that could hold something up. And then from there on, once we have loan approval, the CD, the closing disclosure, will go out to the buyer confirming that they have agreed to buy the house at X amount, get a loan for X amount, interest rate, loan amount, term, all that stuff goes out. They agree to that. Then within 3 days, we'll have loan docs, and then we'll sign loan docs with the buyer. And then from there, money will be sent. Docs will come back to escrow. We'll fund the loan, okay? And then what that means is the money from the new lender comes into escrow. Escrow will pay off any existing liens or judgments, including the previous loan for the seller, and then title will record the property. Now, once we have confirmation of recording, okay, then that becomes the possession of the home changes to the new buyer. Now, depending on your contract, of course, you may have close of escrow, which is the recording day, plus 3 days, plus 5 days. And those 3 or 5 days would be able for the current seller to move out. Majority of the homes now I'm seeing 3 days, give or take. Is that kind of what you guys are writing in most of the time?
Yeah, we usually put 3 days unless it's vacant.
Yeah. And of course, if it's vacant, most of the time at close of escrow, they can take full possession and move in. So that's kind of how escrow works. I know it's a very brief description of how it is. But again, our goal is to be the neutral third party, the happy medium between everyone. So buyer doesn't necessarily talk to seller, seller doesn't talk to buyer. And of course, agents kind of relay any information. So if something happens to come up and the buyer's agent wants to get a request for repairs, maybe there's a broken, you know, whatever in the property, they would go to Jenny. Jenny would then draw something up, and then she would send it to us. We would put it out to all parties. All parties would agree to $1,000 credit, or make sure this is repaired prior, or whatever it needs to be. And so everything is just funneled through escrow to make sure all parties understand and agree to everything.
So something I want to bring up with regards to during escrow that I have seen with regards to sellers. Now, the sellers that have HOAs in their community and on their home, and we know it. And in the contracts as a buyer's agent, usually they'll mark the seller is to pay for transfer documents. And at that point, the seller needs to write a check to the HOA to get that stuff done, correct? Because we get a lot of kickback regarding that.
That is 100% correct. So HOA can be another thing that does delay the process. We do need all HOA fees up front. So that would be paid by the seller unless it was negotiated the other way. If you guys negotiate the other way and the buyer is going to pay for it, then of course the buyer would pay for it. But 95% of the time, the seller is the one paying for that process. Most of the HOA companies now are accepting credit cards. So what we would do is we would give the seller the correct information, because you may have a management company and then you may have the HOA company that does the documents. They may be completely different. They are connected at a point because they're servicing each other. They may be separate. So we would have you contact the HOA doc department. You would give your credit card information. We would never ask you for your credit card information because we don't want to have any of that stuff. But we would direct you to the people you would need to contact. And this is, of course, us directing the seller. So they would call the HOA department, pay with a credit card over the phone if that works. And from there, we would get the documents and we're okay. If they do not accept credit cards, because there still are a handful of them that do not, you would actually send us a check and you would make it payable to the escrow company. Then the escrow company would deposit that and then send another check out to the HOA company. So that's kind of how we do it that route. There are different scenarios for everyone. Sometimes we do get the check directly from the seller, made payable to the HOA company, but we kind of prefer not to go that route because, again, the management company is not always the HOA company. So you may have Dos Lagos Management Company, but Euclid Management HOA is the one that services that. So the check would have to ultimately be paid to Euclid Management. So everything is a little bit different, but As much information as the seller can provide the agent and or escrow about their HOA, that helps us understand it, and that helps us jump on the process when it comes to HOA. So that is another thing, and thank you for bringing this up, Jenny, is that can really delay the process. So we want to request all that stuff up front, and a lot of times these HOA companies are, you know, a one-man show, and it may take a lot longer.
I've seen them take almost 30 days sometimes. It's like we get the HOA documents like right when we're getting loan documents.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And there's a couple communities in our area. I mean, us obviously being in this whole, you know, Inland Empire, some of them have 3 HOAs. So I mean, there's a development in Chino that has 3 HOAs. So you're not only having to deal with 1, but 2 and 3 just makes it a little bit more difficult. Again, that's what escrow does, and that's our job. We just kind of help facilitate it. But again, the seller would pay for that if that's what it was agreed upon.
Now, the next thing I think is a big issue is homeowners insurance. So, you know, a lot of times we don't discover until, or sometimes the seller has forgotten about any claims that they have done on their homeowners insurance within the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. And they forget to put that on their seller's disclosure. And then when the buyer goes to get a quote on homeowners insurance, with it, you guys need right off the bat, so you can put it in with your documents, all of a sudden, they say, oh, there's claims and you have a higher rate. So, you know, that comes up as well, correct?
Yes, that does happen a lot. Again, with the initial seller package that does go out that I spoke about at the very beginning of this call, there is a document that asks who the preferred insurance company is. So again, the more information you can provide to us, the better. If there is something that does pop up where maybe there was water damage before or some type of roof leak or something along those lines, and the said insurance may ask for this, this, and this, then of course we would work with all parties to help that insurance company get what they needed. But most of the time, we're okay. I mean, usually most of the consumers speak with their insurance companies directly and can get them what they need. But again, we're here to help when anything weird would pop up. But yeah, the more information on the insurance company that you have, the better it would be for us.
Now, can you think of anything else that at the end of escrow holds anything up that, like lately, things that have been holding up, or has everything been going pretty smoothly? I mean, we're seeing transactions come through.
So everything has been pretty smoothly, relatively. The main issue lately is we're having a lot of people that are in 2 separate locations. So you may have a husband that is working up north in Northern California, and then the wife that is still here, or the wife that is, you know, that have gone to her parents and the husband's still working locally. So that would be that. The only issue with that is you just have 2 people in 2 separate locations. So when loan docs do come in, we have to facilitate the signing in 2 separate locations, which is not a major problem, but you're having a lot of people that are just separated, where the essential workers that are staying here are still working, of course, and then the rest of their family is going out of it to a different area. So that's kind of been a little bit of delay there, but all that can be taken care of if everyone tells everyone everything. So if Jenny, if your seller tells you, hey, I'm staying, or your buyer tells you, hey, I'm staying here, but my wife is going to be out of the area, if you relay that then to escrow, then we know that up front. It's not a surprise towards the end. So the more information that is shared between all parties, the better the closing and the more efficient the closing can be.
I think the biggest thing with regards to escrow, whether it be refinance, buy, or sell, is communication. Because if you're not communicating and you're just letting it flow through, that doesn't work, because things pop up. There's no such thing as a perfect transaction, correct? I've had, in 21 years, I think I've had maybe 2, right? So there's no such thing as a perfect transaction.
And it's funny when you get a call from a realtor just like yourself and, oh, I have an all cash deal, it's going to be super easy. Those are usually the more difficult ones. There's always strange things that pop up. So yeah, every transaction is different. You know, it's tough dealing with people's schedules. That's the hardest thing, is we want to make sure that, you know, the husband and wife are together, or we want to make sure that they can sit down and review the DocuSign documents that we sent to them, so we're not having to wait and all that. Another thing that I can address is, if anything is sent to you, whether it's a real estate document, an escrow document, please review it as soon as possible. That's going to speed up the whole process. If you delay it and don't look at it for a week, or don't even get a chance to look at it, just know the reason why you're receiving that is because it's an issue to do with something. You know, it may be something that we need, it may be something that the lender needs, it's something that is very important. So anything that you receive, I would check it immediately. Any email that you're utilizing during the real estate process, make sure that you're checking that, throughout the day. And if you have any direct questions, again, you can always contact me. I'll give you my number one more time at 951-314-6860. And of course, whether it's our escrow or you're working with another escrow company and you just have a general question, I'm happy to help you. A couple other things that I do want to talk about is stuff that I do when it comes to agents. I like to help our agents promote themselves. So our goal is to work with the agent, become a partner with that agent, and make them and show them how we can help them. So we do help a lot with open house stuff. If you're in need and need some guidance when it comes to open house and marketing on that side, let me know as well. We also do a lot of things when it comes to the buyers and the sellers during the transaction. So we have a lot of documents that outline that. We have a life of an escrow. If you ever need to have any copies of the stuff, we have top 10 buyers questions, top 10 seller questions. We have how to read a prelim. We have a lot of these documents that will help your seller and your buyer understand the process better. But again, if you're going through the process at all and you have these clients that do have general questions, you can send them my way and I'm happy to help. Also, any of my escrow officers that you have transactions with can do the same as well. We all have multiple years of experience, and if we don't have the answer for you now, we'll get the answer from someone on our team.
I completely agree. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal, and you guys have helped boost my business from the time I was at another company, and I'm still using you guys now because of that relationship, because I get that service and I get that, that support from you guys. And, that's why I wanted to come on. I think it's really important that people, especially right now, they can sit and say, okay, what is this process and what does it look like now for me? Can I do this right now? And that's why I wanted to do this, because there's so many people waiting on the fence. And if they wait on the fence too long, they may miss out, both on the buyer side and the seller side. So I think it's important to get this stuff out, because they think that escrow is going to go 60 to 90 days or something, and that's just not happening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you are on the fence, and I'm talking to the general public that is looking at selling or buying right now, nothing has changed. I mean, just because there is this pandemic, which of course we all want to make sure we're all safe and taking care of everyone, but all of us, we are all essential services. So title, escrow, loan officers, realtors, we're all still working, and we actually, the market right now is booming. And so right now is still a wonderful time to buy. Interest rates are great. If you find your dream home, or if you're in that position right now to do so, nothing is going to make it harder to do this than if you wait 6 months or you wait a year. It's still going to be the same process. Escrow is still here to be that neutral third party. Buyer, seller are still there. Listing agent, selling agent are still there. The notaries are still there with protective gear to make sure no one gets sick. So, I mean, it's a very seamless process right now. And the one benefit now is people are home, so they have a little bit more time, to go through this process. We see much more thorough documentation coming back now than we did, 3 to 4 months ago, because they have time. They're sitting down, they're going through, they're answering all the correct questions. So it's actually easier to close a lot of transactions right now because we have more information than we really need.
I completely agree, because I have a couple of listings, and I have agents actually sending me their buyers, having them call me to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that, because we're all in it to do it together. And nobody's in it just for themselves. We're all in it to work together and to just help everybody in general. So, that's my philosophy, and I know it's your philosophy as well, which is why I brought you on. And, I really appreciate the fact that you can take the time out of your day to help us out. But I want you to try and figure out I want you to do a closing statement, including what you think are the most important points that you want to make, and then we'll go ahead and conclude.
Okay, kind of put me on the spot there. But the most important thing that I want everyone to remember, whether you're an agent, you're a buyer, you're a seller, you're a loan officer, whoever is watching this, just make sure that when you're ready to do this, you're ready to do this correctly. You want to answer all the questions that you need to answer. You want to return everyone's phone calls. You want to fill out the documentation correctly. You want to make sure you can afford the payment. You want to make sure it's your dream home. You want to make sure the house itself is adequate for your family. Our goal as escrow is obviously to do our job the best we can and be that neutral third party and make sure everyone's happy. The agent's goal is the same thing, to get you in a home that fits your family's needs. The lender's job is to make sure you can afford the home, and they give you a good deal and you have a good interest rate and you're not over the top. So again, we're kind of a triangle. I like to think lenders, realtors, and escrow are a big triangle because we're all so important during this transaction, that we want you to know that we are all here for you. And the agents that truly care about you are the ones that are increasing and doing tons of transactions. Jenny is doing this presentation simply to educate the public out there and help you guys understand what to expect during a transaction. Will all of you work with Jenny? I don't know, I hope so, but maybe not. Will all of you work with me? Most likely not. But we want to make sure you're educated so you're not taken advantage of, and all of the documentation and everything that you guys do during the transaction is up to the par that it needs to be. So when you close and you guys are moving and you're down the road and you're happy in your home, you can afford it, you can be happy, you can be stable. That is our goal. That is always our goal, especially here at Everest. I know Jenny's goal is the same as us. We want to be part of your transaction. We want to be part of your future, and we want to be part of your financial future to make sure that you guys feel stable and comfortable.
That was perfect, Tom. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking out your time. I think it's very important that we educate everybody as to what the process is, because especially when I get new first-time home buyers, they have so many questions, they don't even know which ones to ask first. So if we have this information and we're able to delve it out and so people can say, okay, this is what I need to prepare for, then I'm getting my point across. Yeah. And I'm getting my point across that we are all here no matter what, whether it's for refinancing or buying or selling property, because those things need to be done right now. But if you haven't refinanced, now is the time to do so. And please use Everest Escrow for that. They're really good at those refis. I know they're popping them out like crazy. So
yeah, it's been a drastic increase of refinances, and we really have it down. I mean, like I said, we have multiple locations, multiple escrow officers in each location that can handle resales and refis, of course. So if you come across the ability to talk to your loan officer and tell them, hey, I want to use Everest, we'll definitely take care of you guys.
So go ahead, Tom, go ahead and give everybody your cell phone and your email address again. I know you said you're locked out on Facebook right now, so.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of issue with Facebook, but it will be coming up very soon. Hopefully, I was doing some marketing and Facebook didn't like it, so they blocked me for a little bit. But you guys can reach me at my direct cell at 951-314-6860. You can call me or text me, and then you can also email me at tom.blank@everestescrow.com. And remember, guys, Everest Escrow, your choice for now and in the future. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you so much for coming on today. And I hope you stay cool out there because it's been really, really hot. I'm just trying to stay cool here.
No, I really want to thank you for the opportunity as well, Jenny. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. You guys have supported me for so long. I feel like I need to give the support back. So I greatly appreciate it. And everybody, my name is Jenny Gonzalez with Keller Williams Corona. This is Real Estate Roundtable. I'm trying to bring educational information. My license number is 01249788. I've been in the business 21 years. My cell phone is 951-316-0374. And my email is jengonzalez@gmail.com. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And Tom, thank you. And everybody have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you. Be safe.
You too.